Hello everyone, I am back. I apologize for the delay in making videos at all, but the last week has been crazy professionally, personally, and just the world at large. It's just been, I've been balancing a lot the last 10 days or so, so it's been hard for me to find time to actually get around to making videos. Good news is I might be going back to the office tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, but next week, which that's nice. I'll have to actually get my hair cut and shave. But anyway, there are a few videos I have lined up that I want to get to you guys. One of them is my next Star Wars review, which, as I said earlier, is a review of Crimson Empire, which is a comic series that was done way back in the 90s when I was younger. It's one that I have a lot of nostalgia for, so I was really excited to talk about that one. And, get back to the Star Wars book reviews and do something along those lines. I also had a bit of a more ambitious video where it's just me reviewing all of the shit that I've watched while in lockdown. And that would wind up being a super ass long video, but I think it would be a lot of fun to do too, because I've watched so much shit. Like, I have watched so much shit. Like, complete TV series. I have watched so much shit. But, yeah, so I'll try to get both of those out within the next week or so. But this one is going to be wrestling centered. It's going to be about the latest NXT TakeOver. NXT TakeOver in your house. I believe the first takeover of the lockdown, of the COVID shows. And I'll say this, like with all of these shows that are, taking place during the lockdown, it's hard to really judge them among, like, other takeovers that we've seen or other events that we've seen when there's a crowd there. It's not going to be as good. It's just not. I've said before, wrestling just does not work without a live crowd. AEW made it work with Double or Nothing to some degree, put on a fun show. And I thought the show was fun. I enjoyed it for the most part. Again, is this a takeover I'm going to revisit like 2 years from now? Probably not. The COVID shows, I don't want to be reminded of this time period ever. I will not watch I will not rewatch any of the empty arena COVID shows ever again. Like, I just want to get past it and get back to like having normal wrestling shows. But for what it was, I thought it was an entertaining show. I had fun with it. I guess the in your house aesthetic was fun for a lot of people. For me, I'm not nostalgic for In Your House because I associate it with like a low point in WWE history. I also associate it with kind of the death of wrestling pay-per-view because that was when we started seeing the move to the once-a-month pay-per-view format, which just caused a ton of oversaturation. And it's one of those elements of the war with WCW that never really went away and I think had a negative long-term impact. At the time, you got two red-hot wrestling companies, in like 97, 98, and it's awesome. But then you kind of like, we're 20 years removed from that, and it's just, we're being beat over the head with content. And a lot of those elements that were around back then, I wish they would scale back on it. We could get back to like normal basic wrestling or just not try to blow their load every single week. Because, if everything's special, nothing is. And that's kind of where we are right now. So I kind of associate In Your House with like the start of that, like of oversaturating wrestling products. But with all of that said, the show itself was fun, and at least it had a different look to it. I'm like, okay, this is kind of neat, like the house setup. And they had Todd Pettingill doing pre-tapes there. And it's like, okay, I can live with it. Even though it didn't hit me in the nostalgia feels or whatever, but for what it was a nice different look to the show. And going over the card, I don't know if there was a pre-show match. I don't think there was a pre-show match, but because I had the pre-show on, but I was kind of like making dinner at the time, so I wasn't really paying attention. But we started off the main card with a 6-woman tag with Mia Yim, Shotzi Blackheart, and Tegan Nox defeating Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. Pretty basic opener, pretty typical of what you would expect out of a 6-person tag. Fun for what it was, a lot of action, nice way to kind of get things off with like an action-packed match. But yeah, this is basically all it was. I don't really have anything to say other than that. Shotzi Blackheart, I said this on Twitter, and I want to see what other people think. She kind of reminds me, because she's green and she has like a military aesthetic that rides out there on a tank. When I look at her, my immediate thought is Flippy from Happy Tree Friends. Does anybody still watch Happy Tree Friends? Is that still a thing? Because that was something I remember watching on the internet. I'm like, this is the fun. Okay, this is going to say a lot about how twisted I am. I'm like, Happy Tree Friends is one of the funniest fucking things I've ever seen on the internet. It's great. I love Happy Tree Friends. And if you don't know what Happy Tree Friends is, check it out, and then you can get mad at me later. But, no, I'm just saying, Shotzi Blackheart kind of reminds me of Flippy. I'm just throwing that out there. But who was actually my favorite Happy Tree Friend, by the way. But anyway, yeah, the match was what it was. It was fun for what it was, and it was a nice, solid opener. Then we got a nice clashing match of styles between Finn Balor and Damian Priest. Finn Balor getting the win. I thought this was solid. I was entertained by it. I always like clashing styles type of matches with, the smaller, more athletic guy going up against the big, tall giant, and I think they got a lot out of that. It was overall really good stuff. I really like the spot where Damian got kind of took a tumble off the ring. He landed back first on the steel steps when he was trying to slam Finn Balor onto it. So is Finn Balor a face now? Is that where we're going with this? Has he kind of like done the whole like, I'm the same character, but I've just turned face, or is this just a one-match thing? I don't know. I haven't kept up with NXT as much as I probably should have, but again, life's been kind of crazy lately. But yeah, I was entertained by that match. I thought it was probably my favorite match on the show, if I had to be honest. Then we had Keith Lee defeating Johnny Gargano, successfully retaining the North American Championship. Match was solid. I gotta be honest, I'm not feeling Johnny Gargano as a heel. I didn't like it the first time they tried it when he, tried to murder Aleister Black, and then they tried to act like that didn't happen when they realized the heel turn wasn't working. And so he just magically went back to being a face, and we were just supposed to ignore all of what they'd done for the previous 2 months or so. And I'm not feeling it here. It really does feel like he's a heel because they don't know what else to do with him, because they don't want to move him up to Raw or SmackDown, because he's going to get lost in the shuffle if he goes to one of those rosters. And in NXT, he's basically done everything. So what can you really do with him? So it's like, fuck it, turn him heel. And that feels like that's, again, to me, it feels like that's the thought that's gone into it. The match was solid. It was fine for what it was. I was happy Keith Lee won because I'd rather it go on the guy I'm more interested in. Keith Lee is very, he's a big bruiser type of motherfucker, and I like that. So it's like, yeah, keep it on the more interesting guy. He's one of the few baby faces in WWE that's not obnoxious. So I'm like, yeah, just keep it on Keith Lee. We're fine. It makes me feel like, have they lost faith in Gargano's heel run already? That he's losing on a the first takeover after cementing the heel turn? Because Candace also lost. So it's like, all right, so their whole act is done, right? Because I know there's been a lot of talks of people moving up from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. Maybe Johnny and Candace are on that list. I don't know. But it was very interesting. Again, we'll see how it all plays out. I don't see Johnny Gargano working on Raw or SmackDown. But then again, I don't see anybody working on any show until we can get back to having wrestling crowds back and get back to normalcy. But then from there, we got the last chance backlot brawl for the NXT Championship, which is another one of those cinematic matches with Adam Cole successfully defending against the Velveteen Dream. This was okay. If I was going to rank this up against the other kind of cinematic type of matches, it wasn't as good as the Boneyard match or the Stadium Stampede that AEW did, but it wasn't as monotonous and self-indulgent as Gargano and Ciampa was, or Edge and Orton was at WrestleMania. It wasn't overly long. It was a nice solid length. I liked some of the things they did, the cars were pretty neat, and Velveteen Dream's Negan getup was pretty cool too. And a couple of neat things there. Some of the lighting was a little off. It was hard to see certain things because there was too much lighting. But overall, I thought it was an entertaining match. I was surprised that Adam Cole won. I thought for sure that Dream was going to win this. But hey, I don't know. I've heard talks that he's going to move up too. Which if Velveteen Dream moves up to Raw or SmackDown, he's going to fail. I can tell you that right now because we've been dreading it ever since he showed up in NXT and got over. I'm like, well, if that's the next guy Vince is going to fuck over, because no, he's great. We all like him, but there's no way in holy hell Vince is going to do that character justice. I can see the writing on the wall already. It's just, he's not going to work up there because he's going to be put in a creative system that's not going to benefit him. But again, we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I thought that fall that Cole took onto the top of the car, that looked nasty as hell. So there was some good stuff here. It was a nice, solid... For another one of these cinematic type of matches, it was nice and solid for what it was. I don't think it's one of the better ones, but it's far from one of the worst ones. Then we got probably my favorite match on the show. Carrion Cross with Scarlet Bordeaux, looking great as ever. I never object to seeing Scarlet Bordeaux on my TV. She is quite the saucy little thing, and I just love looking at her. She's great. And their entrance is really cool, by the way. I think I made a comparison to Sin City when I was watching it on Twitter. But the whole presentation is great. But he took on Tommaso Ciampa and basically demolished him. It was a short match. It was like only a few minutes long. And it was a great way to establish him as kind of a threat. And, you know, and this is an idea for a video that I've been toying with for a while. It's like, should wrestling go back to having shorter matches? Because... watching through all the Saturday night's main events when I did all those live streams a while back, and rewatching all these Nitros that I'm watching right now, I was like, you know, there's a certain like excitement to having shorter matches, because it's like you feel like you're going to miss the finish at any time. It gets finishers over, it gets mannerisms over. You know, there's a case to be made to having shorter matches, whereas if every single show has half-hour-long matches, which WWE's guilty of that now, AEW's guilty of that, pretty much everybody's guilty of that at this point, you know, it's easier for your attention to wander, I think. And that's a topic for another video that I could cover. I think it would be really interesting. But here, it's like it had a very simple point. It's like, let's get Carrion crossover. He goes in there and gets a dominant victory over one of the top guys in NXT, and it's like, whoa, holy shit, they must be serious about this guy. And that did, to me, that did a better service to everybody involved than just dragging the thing out for half an hour. Especially coming after the cinematic battle between Cole and Velveteen Dream for the title, and especially coming after the North American title match, which was like 20, 30 minutes, however long it was. I believe that was the longest match on the show, am I right? Yeah, 20 and a half minutes. So, you know, you don't need to have every single match go 15, 20, 30 minutes. And especially in a situation like this, new character, you want to establish him, just go out there and have him destroy somebody. And the same principle worked for The Fiend when they debuted him at SummerSlam and had him just destroy Finn Balor. It was same principle. And it worked really well there, and The Fiend stole the show that night. So, kind of the same thing here with me. I liked the presentation of Killer Cross. I think Scarlet Bordeaux adds to the look and everything, and I think the entrance looked great. And he goes out there and just kills a motherfucker. And it's a guy who we know is like one of the top guys on the brand and is super, super tough in his own right. And I think that was a lot more interesting than dragging it out for 30 minutes. So that's my take. Probably my favorite match on the show. And then we got the women's title match closing out the triple threat. Charlotte Flair defending against Rhea Ripley and Io Shirai. I figured Io Shirai was going to win because she's the only one in this match that had never held that title, so I figured she was going to win, and she did. Overall, I enjoyed this. There were some really cool things that they did. I thought the Jeff Hardy spot that Io did, where she dove off the stage, that took a little too long to set up, as most of those Jeff Hardy-style spots tend to do. Shane McMahon was also guilty of that, where it's like, look, I know you want to get the highlight made, but it takes like half an hour. It feels like it takes like half an hour to set this thing up. It's like, dude, it kind of kills the suspension of disbelief, I think, if it takes so long to set up that stunt. But in any case, I thought the match was fun. The action was good. All three ladies came out of this looking solid, I thought. And I think Charlotte being there, given her stance as one of the top female stars in the company, I think it kind of like gave it more of a main event level feel than it would have had otherwise. And Io Shirai won the title, so it was the biggest headline coming out of this thing, aside from Karrion Kross killing Ciampa. You got a big title change out of it. So it was like, all right, cool, that's great. And yeah, it was a perfectly solid main event. Now, was looking up and down this card, was there anything on here that I loved? No. Would I say I loved the show? No, but once again, we're stuck with these shows for the time being, and they did the best that they could. So I really can't ask any more than that. So yeah, NXT TakeOver in your house. I thought it was a perfectly solid, entertaining show, and I enjoyed it. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. And yeah, that's it. So I will have more videos lined up. Once again, I apologize for the delay, but things got crazy in more ways than one. And I just making videos became kind of like secondary for a while. But, you know, I was only gone a week. It's not like I was gone for an eternity or anything. But yeah, I will have more videos lined up of the non-wrestling variety the next couple of entries, and they should be fun anyway, so hopefully you all enjoy those. But that is all I have for you now. Thanks again, everybody, for watching, and I will see you all later.